Hello, people. It's your boy Ambassador. As usual, I drop on these videos, react, just to spark the thought. As I say, it's not a matter of many people liking, sharing, and subscribing. I just want a few people who like this kind of topics to engage with me on the comment section, comment about it, share with people who are like-minded, people who also like this kind of topics, just so we can build that critical mass of people thinking about this kind of topics. It's not a matter of, as I said, it's not Big Brother Africa or the new release of influencers. No, these are socio-economic slash political issues which need some level of engagement and critical thinking. This time around, I'm talking about an African president, which I was saying that if any African president says this, he'll be out by next week. That's how I titled this video.
The way you operated in Africa, the system has been that you pay us a wage to extract our wealth from the earth, our natural resources, our minerals, our gold, our diamonds, and so on. You pay us a wage to extract all of that for you, to hand it over to you. And we're supposed to be grateful to you for giving us jobs. You gave us the job of digging up our buried treasures and giving them to you. That's our job. The term should be, you can extract our resources for a wage, and those resources will remain in our lands to be refined and processed and used in manufacturing in our lands for our companies. And we will sell the products that we make from our resources to you. Not the current situation where we take out our resources from the earth, give them to you, for you to process, for you to refine, and for you to use in manufacturing to make products by your companies that then you sell to us. Now, this is backwards. That makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense to you. It makes sense for you, obviously, because you have no respect for the values of fairness and sovereignty. And this should apply to our human resources as well, because you do the same thing with our labor as you do with our natural resources. You extract our labor for your companies, for your products, and for your profits. And all we get is the wage.
Because I feel like, as I've said, any African president who tries to bring about change without having a critical mass is on a suicide mission. So, we as African people need to start thinking. So we have a large majority of Africans who are thinking. If not, it's a waste of time. All he's saying makes sense in this video. But it's not about making sense. It's about what do your population or what does the masses around you think. If they don't agree with the sense you are making, then it does not make sense because you are going to get killed. We have seen it happen before. Also, it is not easy to bring about this change, as he rightly emphasizes in the video. But some of these things can be curbed or solved by this critical mass I keep on talking about. People are still thinking about, in Africa, we're still thinking along the basic lines of food, shelter. I always make reference to the Maslow pyramid of motivation, where he talks of the various segments of motivation. Africans are still in the first segment, which is still providing for your basic needs. So they cannot really think too strategic. They cannot really philosophize a lot. They cannot really think long-term a lot, because if somebody is thinking in the first segment, which is just food and shelter, these are critical needs which, if he does not have it, he can die tomorrow. If I don't have food, I can die tomorrow. So telling me to think long-term, like I tell people, like when I look at the European civilization, these guys think like 50 years ahead. But Africans, we don't think like that. We don't have that kind of strategic thinking, because we're just thinking of what will I eat today, my child's health, where will we sleep. So we cannot really focus on strategic thinking, but that's what we need. In a global world where everybody's thinking strategic, if we don't have a group of people thinking strategic, we are in for a lost battle. But because we find ourselves, the large majority, on that basic Maslow pyramid, the first segment, we are thinking of basic needs. So I think African leaders have to start moving their people away from these, using, should I call it, the three pillars of development, which is economic, health, and education, to ensure that your people move out of the first segment and now they can start having elevated conversations that have to do with strategic thinking. All of these things I'm saying is a lot to actually implement. I'm breaking down like 5 minutes videos. I'm saying a lot of things which I can elaborate in 3 books. I can elaborate in 5-hour videos, but I don't go into so much detail. But if you understand what I'm saying, you can best expatiate it in your imagination as to what I mean by we should move our people from the first segment and then build a critical mass. Also, I think we as Africans should expect no fairness. I've done a video like this before. We should expect no fairness from the capitalist world. We should stop coming with the hands of beggars and thinking that this is heaven where people are going to make the right choices for Africans. That's hoping that you say that, okay, but you should know that you should not treat me like this. Why are you making us to suffer? You should give me a fair share of the deal. No. If we come to the table and then you negotiate for 1%, I give you 1% and I take 99. It's not fair to give you 1%, but that's what you negotiate. That's what I'll give you. So the world, Africans should stop thinking that the world is going to give them a fair deal. You should learn to negotiate for a fair deal. And to negotiate for a fair deal, you need to educate your minds. Know what it means to negotiate for a fair deal. First, you need to know what is on the table. What do you have at stake? What is the value of your resources? What can you really leverage on? How can you use the forces of demand and supply and the market forces to say, okay, Chinese, how much do you have to offer? Russia, how much do you have to offer? America, how much do you have to offer? French, how much do you have to offer? The person who gives you the best deal is going to get these resources. But also, how does that play out itself? It also means that you also have to make sure that you have a backup plan. And some of the backup plans, I cannot sit on YouTube and start talking about the backup plans because that's already selling out all what I'm thinking of how I can help Africa. But we also have to start thinking about backup plans in case they go and form a coalition and say, okay, we're not going to buy this resource from Africa. Let's see what they do with it. We need to have plans on what we are going to do next and how we are going to negotiate to break down their coalition. So, Africans need to, as I said, think out of the box and not expect a fair deal from Africa. Also, I usually say that the world has been pressing the reset button on Africa. First, they met us and said we're in the dark continent, but we have the highest sunline because we are close to the equator. How are we the dark continent? I don't know. Then they told us that, okay, they want to take us to the new world. And they gave us mirrors and cloth and hot gin and took people from Africa as slaves. Africans sold their brothers to the rest of the world. I always like to make that emphasis. They did not come and seize us from here. We sold ourselves. It's always Africans selling out themselves. When we said we did not want slave trade again, they pressed the reset button, colonization. Said, okay, we'll not spend so much to bring you guys here to come and live with us and work in our plantations. You guys are beginning to see too much of the better life. We'll keep you guys in Africa. Make sure you're underdeveloped, but you work the plantations there for us. Then there was colonization. When we helped them in the fighting the First World War and the Second World War, we became a little bit more, should I call it, enlightened and started asking for independence. Then they prepared the reset button again, pressed the reset button, decided that, okay, this time we're not going to come to control the plantations. We are going to get your brothers to enforce these poor policies on you and then still give us the resources, and then you guys will stay. As usual, they say the worst way to mess up with a man is psychologically. So they trapped us and colonized us psychologically. Until date, we have not managed to even understand that we are still being colonized, to even start to think on how to leave that colonization. So some of these are just to get us to think as to what is the next step. But as usual, I tell you guys, comment, like, share, subscribe. It's your boy Ambassador. I'm out.
Just my opinion.